Hi, my name is Roland Saint Pierre, and here at Power Integrations, I'm a technical director of product development, and I'm here today to introduce a very exciting product, the InnoSwitch4-CZ and its companion IC, the ClampZero. So what is the Inno4? Well, before we start with that, maybe it's easier to start with the Inno3. The InnoSwitch3 was a flyback converter with a normal transformer, and we had a integrated high voltage primary MOSFET, and a primary controller. And we had a flux link which connected to a secondary controller which controlled the secondary SR MOSFET and had the ability to regulate the output current as well as the output voltage, all in a single package. Now, typical for a flyback converter is the inherent leakage inductance, as in the transformer, which requires the use of an RCD clamp to limit the maximum voltage across the primary side MOSFET to reduce its stress when the switch turns off. What we've done in InnoSwitch4 is we've eliminated this RCD, this dissipative RCD stubber, and replaced it with an active clamp switch, which we call the ClampZero, which is in series with a clamp capacitor, and mated it with the controller to the primary side of the InnoSwitch4, thereby allowing us to operate at higher switching frequency to reduce the size of the transformer, as well as recirculate all the leakage energy back to the output to increase the efficiency, as well as maintain and achieve zero voltage switching in the primary side MOSFET. So I've reset the schematic now to an InnoSwitch4 and ClampZero active clamp flyback to describe its operation and how it's different from the conventional flyback, which I mentioned previously. So what we have is, again, the InnoSwitch4 with its integrated high voltage switch, and we have the active clamp switch, which is called the ClampZero, which is a companion IC to the InnoSwitch4, configured in a optimized, very low parts count, high efficiency active clamp flyback. Now, the advantage of an active clamp flyback, which I mentioned before, was the ability to operate with zero voltage switching on the primary MOSFET, which allows us to really increase the switching frequency and reduce the size of the transformer. So the InnoSwitch4 has all those benefits and has an additional benefit in that in the method of the control that we have here, when the primary MOSFET turns off, so just like we had before, we have the main switch drive, which is internal to the controller. The secondary controller actually controls the SR MOSFET, the commutation of the auxiliary switch in the ClampZero, or the active clamp switch in the ClampZero, as well as the main switch on the primary side. There's a delay that right before the next commutation of the main switch is when we turn on the active clamp switch in ClampZero. The benefit of doing this type of control rather than the complementary control we described before, and this is, by the way, referred to as a non-complementary type control, is that now we're able to operate in continuous conduction mode. So this converter can operate in continuous conduction mode as well as discontinuous conduction mode, and have all the benefits of zero voltage switching for the entire range, which is very beneficial for freeing up the actual design for a very wide range requirements for, let's say, a USPP converter, which has very wide input voltage range, as well as very wide output voltage range. And we'll get into the details of how this non-complementary type control works and how we achieve zero voltage switching, as well as mitigate continuous conduction mode and discontinuous conduction mode. So in the InnoSwitch4 and ClampZero, we're actually bringing all the benefits of InnoSwitch3 into this control topology. The same sliding frequency, so we can maintain a very flat efficiency over the entire load range. And this mode of operation does not need burst mode, which is required for the complementary type active clamp flyback, which we described previously. One of the drawbacks of burst mode is its inability to maintain very light like ripple in the output, as well as sometimes audible noise, and a very complex control strategy in order to mitigate zero-voltage switching and light load performance. You don't have to worry about any of that with the InnoSwitch4 and ClampZero. Visit us for more information at power.com.